Hello everyone, welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we're going to discuss a project. So in this project, we would like to create a simple calculator that performs basic arithmetic operations for us. To do that, first of all, I'm printing the message, welcome to the calculator for the users. So I'm printing out this message. And then I would like to take two numbers from the user. First, I ask them to enter the first number, then enter the second number. And then using the input keyword, I'm getting this message being shown in the output for the user and storing this entered data by the user using the input function. And because we learned by default in Python, it is going to store it as a string. We are using the float function to convert the variable, the input variables that is used and entered by the user to convert them from a string to float. And then this is assigned to my variable called num1. The same logic goes with the second number. I'm showing the message for the user using the input function saying that enter the second number, and the user is going to enter a number. Okay, and that number using still the input function is going to be stored as a string for users in the memory. And then because by default it's a string and we want a number because we would like to do some arithmetic operations, we need to convert it to a float or integer. But float is more flexible. So in order to do that, I'm having the float function and parentheses, and inside parentheses, I'm having the input function. So whatever that is stored using the input function is going to be converted to float, and the resulting value is going to be assigned to my num variable. So I'm using the input function and the float function, okay? And basically I'm having the float, and inside that I'm having the input function, and in this input function I'm having my message, okay? So this is how I'm showing a message to the users to enter two numbers, then storing them as a string, converting them as to float, and then assigning them to num1 and num2. Then I'm showing another message to my users. I'm saying that choose an operation: addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. And then when they want to enter the operation, I'm going to take it as an input and store it in the variable called operation. So here is the fun part. Now I need to define if, else, and elif conditions. Why? Depending on what mathematical operations the user is going to choose, the output is different. Because if they choose, for example, the addition, the output should be num1 plus num2. If they, for example, choose multiplication, the output should be num1 times num2 multiplied by num2. Okay, so this is the difference. So now I would like to start my if condition. I'm saying that if the operation variable equals the plus sign, which we store, so we store the operation that the user is choosing in the operation variable. So if this equals plus sign, the result variable equals num1 plus num2, and then we are going to print the result is, then print out the result value. Elif the operation equals subtraction, the result variable equals num1 minus num2, and then we are going to print the result. Elif the operation equals star, we are going to have the variable result being equal to num1 multiplied by num2, and then we are printing out the output here. And elif, another elif is that operations equals the slash. It means that we want to do the division, but before doing that we must check that num2 does not equal 0, because if num2 is equals 0, there will be, mathematically speaking, there will be a problem. No numbers can be divided by a 0. So num2 should not be equal 0. So if num2 is not equal to 0, then result equals num1 divided by num2, and then we are printing out the result. Otherwise, if num2, otherwise is this else function, is else part here, which means that num2 equals 0. Okay, print error, division by 0 is not allowed. And if operation is not equals, the operation variable does not equal to any of these uh, any of these options here, I mean the addition, subtraction, star, and the slash, print invalid operation. For example, if the user enter another operation. So we're going to illustrate it with an example. So let me run the code. When I run the code, it says, welcome to the calculator. Enter the first number. I say 20. Enter the second number. I would say 10. And then enter the operation. I'm typing down the plus. So it says the result is 30. Okay, so it is taking the operation and then do the job for me. So this message was shown, enter the first number, enter the second number, then choose an operation. Then I entered the operation, so it was stored in operation variable. Then because I was choosing this addition, it said if operation equals addition equals plus. Is it true? Yes. Then it entered this if condition here. Because it entered this if condition here, it did the num1 plus num2, stored the result in the result variable, and then print out the output. So when I run this code one more time, it says enter the first number. I said 20. Enter the second number. I would say 15. And choose an operation. And from the operation, I choose subtraction. It says the result is 5. So let me analyze the code one more time. So it stored two numbers that I entered and stored the subtraction sign that I entered here. It start the if condition here. So operation, is operation equal to plus? No, because I entered minus, I entered subtraction. So because this condition is not true, it's not going to execute this part of the code, and it jumps to the elif part. So the next condition, it says operation, is it equal to subtraction? Yes, because this statement is true, it is going to execute this part of the code. Therefore, the result variable is equal to num1 minus num2, which was 20 minus 15, and the result was 5 as shown here. So when I have another run, I would say the first number is 20 and the second number is 0, and I choose the division operation. So it sends me an error saying that error, division by 0 is not allowed. What happened? So the program stored my two numbers. Then it stored the division operation here. It checks to see operation equals plus. No. Then this part is not executed. It jumps to next elif, operations equals minus. No. Then it does not implement this part. It jumps to the next elif, operations equals star. No, it does not implement this part. And then finally it says operation equals slash, which is division. Yes. If it checks this statement, num2 is not equal to 0. Is it true? No, num2 equals indeed to 0. Therefore, it comes to this else part and says error, division by 0 is not allowed. This is exactly the thing that we got in the output here. So when I run this code one more time, I say 20 and then the second number 10, and I type down the slash, which means the division, and it says the result is 2. So in this case, it comes here, operation equals slash or division. Yes, it checks num2 is not equal to 0, and my num2 was 10. So this statement is true. Therefore, it is going to implement this part of the code, and result equals num1 divided by num2, and the result is being printed out, which is number 2 here. And when I run the code one more time, I type down 20 and I type down the number 10 as a second number. It says choose an operation. So I choose the and sign, which is not one of the predefined operations. So when I run this code, it says invalid operation, which is this message here. So when we are having this code and neither of these options are considered here. So the first option is addition. The second option is subtraction. The third option is star, and then this division here, okay? But I chose the AND operation, and AND operation is not included in any of these lines here, okay? So when the AND sign is not included in any of these lines here, it is going to return the invalid operation message because it's the else part. So if operation is either one, either this, and either this, do these things. Otherwise, which is this part, show the message invalid operation. So in this project, we learned how to create a simple calculator that performs basic arithmetic operations for us. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we would like to write a program that calculates the diagonal of a rectangle given its width and height. Here, because we want to do some mathematical operations, we are importing the math library to use its function. For example, one of the functions that we want to use is the sqrt. So this is why we type down the keyword import and then the math keyword, which means that we are going to use the math library and we are going to import the math library. Then we are going to show this message to the user, enter the width of the rectangle using the input function. And because whatever that we get from the user using the input function, it is by default in Python treated as a string, we need to convert it to a float. And because we want to convert it to a float, we are going to use the float function, and this is the float function. So we are using the float function. So everything that is inside these parentheses is going to be converted to the float. So therefore, I type down the input function inside the float function, and inside the input function parentheses, I say enter the width, for example, and the user is going to enter a number. That number is stored firstly in a string data type, and then it is going to be converted to a float, and the output is going to be assigned to the width variable. The same reasoning happens for the height variable. We are going to show this message to the user saying that, okay, enter the height of the rectangle, whatever the user is going to enter. Firstly, it is stored in a string data type. Then we are going to convert it to a float, and then it is assigned to the height of the rectangle. Okay. Then we are having this variable diagonal equals to the formulation. So this is the formulation to calculate the diagonal of a rectangle. In order to calculate that, we need to have a square root of width to the power of 2 plus height to the power of 2. Okay. And when we are having this output, we are going to calculate its square root, and it is going to give us the diagonal of a rectangle. So in order to compute the diagonal of a rectangle, first we need to have the output of width to the power of 2 plus height to the power of 2, and then have the square root of their summation. So this formula is written in Python like this. So we call this math function and math library, and then the sqrt function, then width to the power of 2, star 2 means to the power of 2, plus height to the power of 2, star 2, and then the output is assigned to diagonal variable. And finally, using the print function, we are trying to print the output saying that the diagonal of the rectangle is Then I type down the name of the diagonal variable, so it is going to print the output for me. So I type down the width of the rectangle is 10, for example, and the height of the rectangle is, for example, 25, and it calculates the diagonal of the rectangle. It says the diagonal is 26. So this is how we can calculate the diagonal of a rectangle given its width and height using the math library and square root sqrt function and to the power of 2 in Python. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to write a program that declares a function, and this function takes a temperature in Celsius as a parameter and returns the equivalent temperature in Fahrenheit. Here is my function. So I'm using the def keyword to declare my function. This is the name of my function called Celsius to Fahrenheit. And in the parentheses, it is taking one parameter or argument, and I just name it Celsius. We can call it X, we can call it Y, whatever we want. And this function is basically is going to return the value of this statement. This statement is the following: Celsius times 9 divided by 5 in parentheses plus 32. So this is the very famous formula, and we know it from before, that is going to take a Celsius degree and convert it to Fahrenheit. So this is the formula to do that. For example, this Celsius could be, for example, 30, and I want to know 30 degrees in Celsius is what is the temperature of equivalent of 30 degrees in Celsius in Fahrenheit. So this is the Celsius value, so 30 for example, and then using this formula we can get the output of the Fahrenheit temperature. Now to do the job for me, I'm having a variable called temp. I call it X for the sake of simplicity. So I'm having a variable X, and we are calling this Celsius to Fahrenheit function. We're calling this function using the argument 25. What does this 25 mean? This means that I'm having 25 degrees in Celsius and I want to know its equivalent in Fahrenheit. And it is going to call this function with 25 equals Celsius. So 25 is multiplied by 9 divided by 5 in the parentheses, and then plus 32. The output is going to be returned. So when I call this function, this is doing this part for me and return its value. So, and the return value is assigned to X variable. Okay, we are assigning it to X variable. And finally, I'm printing out the X variable. So when I run the code, I see the equivalent of 25 degrees in Celsius is 77 degrees in Fahrenheit. We could try like 18 degrees in Celsius and find its equivalent in Fahrenheit. And we see its equivalent in Fahrenheit is 64.4. So this is how we can take a number and do some mathematical operations on that number and return the output. In particular, in this example, we learned how to get a number as the degree in Celsius and do certain mathematical operations to convert the Celsius number to the Fahrenheit number and return the output. And the returned output is stored in variable X, and then we are printing out the X variable. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to write a program that declares a function that takes a number as a parameter and prints whether it's an even number or odd. So here is my function. I'm using the def keyword to declare my function, and I'm having the name of the function called check even odd, and I'm having one argument for this function that we call it number. It could be X, it could be Y. We can get to choose this number, okay? And this function is basically checking to see a number if it's even or odd. In order to understand if a number is even, we need to do a division. So this is a definition of an even number. When a number is divided by 2 and the remainder of this division equals 0, it means that that number is even. Otherwise, that number is odd. So let me write it down for you. If a number is divided by 2 and the remainder of this division equals 0, it means that number is an even number. Otherwise, it is an odd number. So this is a definition of an even number. So if a number is divided by 2 and the remainder of this division equals 0, it means that number is even. And if a number is divided by 2 and the remainder of that division does not equal 0, that number is an odd number. Okay? So for example, when 10 is divided by 2, the output of this division is 5, but the remainder of this division is 0. So we understand that 10 is an even number. But when 11 is divided by 2, the remainder of this division does not equal to 0, is not equal to 0. This is why 11 is an odd number. So now we want to define a function that checks whether a number is even or odd. To do that, we are having one if-else condition here. So the number that is passed to this function, we are having this operation on that number. So this number is divided by 2. And we are checking to see if that number that is passed as an argument to this function, it is divided by 2. And it's the remainder of this division equals 0. We are checking the if condition. If this happens, print even. Otherwise, print odd. So it checks to see if a number is passed to this function. That number is divided by 2. Its remainder equal to 0. If this statement is true, then this part is true. Then it is going to enter this if condition and it is going to print even. Otherwise, it is going to print odd for us. Let me illustrate it with an example. So I call this check even odd function, and I'm passing number 10 as the argument. And I'm calling this function one more time, and I'm calling the function, I'm passing the argument that is 7. So let me run the code. So when I run the code for the number 10, I see even in the output. When I have the number 7, I see odd in the output. So one thing to remember is that I'm using the modular sign here. So the modular sign is going to return the remainder of a division. So this number is divided by this number. When I'm using this modular sign, it means that if this number is divided by this number, print me the remainder. Okay, give me the remainder. So when I'm having, let me illustrate it with an example. So when I have 10 divided by 2 here, when I run this code, you see number 5 in the output, okay? 10 divided by 2. But when I have print 10 modulo 2 and run this code, we have the output 0. What does it mean? It means that if 10 is divided by 2, the remainder of that division is what number? This is 0. Okay, so this is how the modulo sign is going to help us to understand the remainder of a division. It was a very good example. And now we see that here I'm having this block of code being executed whenever we call this function. Just imagine that we were not using the function. So I'm calling the function 2 times using 2 lines. Okay. And this part of the code is written only once. So if I wanted to not have a function, And every time that I was checking a number to see if it's odd or even, I had to write these 4 lines. So whenever, for example, I want to check 10 numbers, each time I had to write 4 lines of code. So 10 numbers multiplied by 4. So 40 lines to check 10 numbers if they are odd or even. However, here I'm having only 4 lines being written only once. And when I'm calling that function, I'm just using 1 line to call this function to do the mathematical work for me. So if I want to call this function 10 times, it will take 10 lines plus these 4 lines that are written only once. It will be 14 lines of code. However, if I want to this mathematical operations, these 4 lines for 10 numbers to be checked, the result will be 40 lines of code. And this is just a simple example. So it is very useful to use functions to reduce the repetition in our code and therefore increase the readability. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we would like to find the third largest number in our list. This is our list. It is called numbers and it has some elements. And we would like to find a third largest number in this list. To do that, I'm printing using the print function. I type down the message third largest number and then I call the third largest function. And this function basically is doing the work for us, and we are passing this list that is called numbers as the argument. Okay, now to do that, I'm having this list being converted to a set using the set function. Why? Because in set we do not allow duplicates. Okay, we do not allow duplicates in sets. So this is why we are first of all, we are converting this list to a set, and then we are sorting this set. I'm going to tell you why not being allowed to have duplicates is important in this example. Then whatever is the output of this part is going to be assigned to the unique numbers. So we are having a set called unique numbers. So when I run this code, for example, here I'm printing this list, which is called numbers. Then I'm printing this unique numbers set as well here in the output. So when we are having it in the output you see the numbers is the same as we declared here, but the unique numbers is having 2, 5, 7, 9, and 10. So duplicates are removed. We were originally having 2 number 2s and we were having 2 number 7s, but in this unique numbers, we are seeing that we are only having 1, 2, and 1, 7. And this is because of this set function that we use here. So if I remove this set function and when I rerun the code, I see the unique numbers is being printed here as a list. And as a list, when it is being printed, you see the duplicates are there. So we are having 2 number 2s and 2 number 7s. So this unique numbers is being written here when we are not using the set function. We learned if we would like to access to the largest number, we type down the index -1. So when I type down the unique numbers, then here I'm having -3, for example, it is going to access the third number from right. Okay, so we are looking for the third largest number and we sorted the list for ourselves here because we are removing the set. Okay, now this is the sorted list and the third largest number is 7 as you see it here. So -3. So this function is going to basically sort these numbers list, then assign it to unique numbers list. Then we are going to access the third element from the right of this unique numbers list. And here is the third element from the right. We see number 7 is the third largest number. Okay, so in this example, this is correct. But if we wanted to look for the fourth largest number, what would have been the answer? When we are having this -4 here and I run the code, we see still it says let me type down fourth here, fourth. So when I run the code one more time, we see the fourth largest number is -7. So I type down -4 to access the fourth largest number. So this is the first largest number, second largest number, third largest number, and the fourth largest number is not 7 anymore because 7 is the third largest number. But because there is duplicate, the code is making a mistake. So the fourth largest number is 5, but we are having 7 in the output. This is why we need to convert this list to a set. Therefore, this set is going to remove duplicates. So when I run the code, you see the fourth largest number is 5, which is true because first largest number, second largest number, third largest number, and fourth largest number is 5. Okay, so this is important to remove duplicates. This is why we use this set function, and then we sort the converted list to a set, and we are assigning it to unique numbers. Therefore, we are not having any more duplicates in our code. So let me review it one more time. We are willing to find the third largest number. Here, let me type down third again. And let me type down -3 here again. I'm having this list. I'm calling my third largest function, and I'm passing as the argument this list that is called numbers. Then I'm using the set function to remove the duplicates. Then using the sorted function to sort it in ascending orders. When we are having a set in ascending order, we can simply understand the third number, the third element from the right will be the third largest number because it is sorted in ascending order and it has no duplicates value in it, okay? And it is assigned to unique numbers here. Then let me just comment these parts because these parts were added because I wanted to show you the output for better understanding and analyzing the code. So then I'm using the name of this variable, which is unique underscore numbers, and using the brackets, I'm accessing the third largest number from the right. Because we learned if we type down -1, we can access the number from the right, the first number from the right. To access the second number from the right, we use -2. To access the third number from the right, we use -3. So this is how we can access to the third largest number in our list. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. We would like to write a program that creates a tuple of 5 city names and then convert the tuple into a list, add a new city to the list, and then convert it back to tuple and print the final tuple. So we would like to first write a tuple, convert it to a list, add a new city to the list, and convert it back to tuple, and then print the final tuple. Why do we need to first convert a tuple to a list and then add a city? Why don't we directly add the city into the tuple? Because when we create a tuple, it's not possible to modify them. This is one of the features of the tuples. This is why when we want to add something to the tuple, it's not possible. So a trick would be here to convert the tuple to a list, then add a city to that list and create a new tuple and convert that list into a tuple and assign it to the new tuple. So here, for example, I'm having a tuple called cities. It has London, Paris, Tokyo, New York, and Sydney inside of it. And then this cities is being converted to lists using the list function. Basically, I type down the list keyword, and in the parentheses, I type down the name of my subtuple, and it is assigned to cities list. So cities list is the list version of cities tuple for now. Then I take the cities list and use the append function to add Berlin to my list. So now my list is updated and it has a new city called Berlin. Okay. And now the appending is done. I need to convert it back to tuple and create a new tuple. To convert it to a tuple, we use the tuple function, and I'm using it here. And in the parentheses, I type down the name of my list, the updated list, cities underscore list, which has Berlin inside of it as well. Then this is assigned to my variable, which is a tuple, which is called updated cities. Then I'm using the print function, updated tuples, and then put down the updated cities. So when I run this code, I see London, Paris, Tokyo, New York, and Sydney is already there, and Berlin is added, and it's a tuple because we see parentheses here. Okay, so let me review it one more time. So we want to declare a tuple. Then in order to add a new city to this tuple, because tuples do not allow this, we convert this tuple to a list, we append the new city in that list, and then we convert that list to a tuple. And we are going to print the final tuple for us. So this is my tuple. I'm converting it to a list using the list function. And now cities underscore list is exactly equal to this cities tuple because it's just converting from a tuple using the list function, and it is assigned to this. Okay. Then I use the name of my list, which is cities underscore list dot append. Using the append function, I add the new city, Berlin. So now my list is having a new city inside of it. And then I take this cities list in the parentheses and I use the tuple function to convert this updated cities list to a tuple. And it is assigned to a new tuple that is called updated cities. And then this updated cities is being printed in the output. Thank you for watching.